Good morning, grade 6A. How are you doing? Today is April 8th, and we're here to talk about what we're going to be doing today in our class, okay? So we will keep working on our amusement park project about inequalities that we started on April 3rd, okay? Just as a reminder, on April 3rd, you had these goals for your project. You had to finish by April 3rd, and as some people didn't finish, uh, the name for your amusement park, the hours of operation, and the pricing for your park. And you should have created 4 rides for your amusement park and their respective requirements, either a height requirement or an age requirement for your rides. And this info should have been written in your draft document that is in our amusement park project post, which is this document here. It's called Amusement Park Project Draft Document, which is written here. Use this following space to write your information and data for your brochure. So remember, our final product is a brochure of a park that you're creating. Some people didn't finish, which means you're going to have a little bit more work today, okay? So after I showed you the exemplar from a friend from 2 years ago, I would like it to remind you some of our requirements, okay? So some people asking me about this table here of age and price, and that's what I want to go over now, okay? So this table here that is on your bottom right here, some people called attention that it's not completely right. So let me ask you some questions here, okay? Let's say here, I have this table reading mathematically. So I'm asking here, how much do I pay if I am 19 years old? If I am 19 years old, right? Because if I'm 19 years old, I can either follow here, right? I can either follow here. So I pay 20, right? Because 19 is greater than 18, right? Well, but let me tell you something. Isn't 19 also greater than 3? So can't I fall onto this line? So wait, mister, I can pay 10. So there is a discrepancy here. I can pay either 20 or 10. So I can have an argument with the person who is charging me, and I can say, according to your table, which is poorly done in terms of math, let's say, um, I can pay 10 because, well, 19 is greater than 3, and you say that ages that are greater than 3 pay 10. What if I am 65 years old? What happens if I'm 65 years old? Can I pay only 10 reais or $10 in this case? What do you think? If your answer is yes, yes, I can. Because again, 65 is greater than 3, which makes me fall into this line here. I am greater than 3. So if I'm greater than 3, I can pay $10. I can only pay $10. So mister, how can I make it right? How can I write a correct inequality, okay, which we start writing simultaneous, but I'm gonna change to the which we call the compound inequalities. Okay, how can I write it correctly? Well, here I am to teach. So let's start. How can I write compound inequalities? Well, let's say that I want people who are from 3 years old to, let's say, 11 years old. Okay, people from 3 to 11, they're going to pay 10. Okay? So that's my range here. From 3 to 11, they're going to pay 10. And I want to include 3 and 11, which means in terms of math, if I think of my number line, I want to include 3 and I want to include 11. So all these people here that are from 3 to 11, including them, are going to pay $10. So I'm going to write 3, I'm going to write 11. So all these ages between 3 and 11, including 3 and including 11, are in this range. So that's what I call a range. This is a compound inequality. Okay, how do I read this compound inequality? I read on both ways. So the ages greater than 3, but less or equal, so greater than or equal than 3, but less or equal than 11 will pay 10. So then I can write it here. Okay, 3 is less than or equal to all the ages which are less than or equal to 11. So this is the first range that I want. Okay. The second range that I want people who are from 12 to 64. Okay. Actually, let's put 11 here. Let's put 11 here. We have to put 11, right? So I want people from 11 to 64. Okay. These people here will pay 20 bucks. So in terms of my math, my number line, I want people from 11, but now because I counted 11 here, so my 11 is inclusive in my first inequality, my 11 is not included here, so it's an open dot. And I will include people who are 64 here. Okay, so 63.9, 63.99 until 64. And here people who are 11 are not included. People who are 11.1, 11.2, 11.3, 11.4, maybe yes. So over that, okay, so 12 over, right? So from here on, 11 to 64. So then how do I write it? I will write 11, open dot, age, close dot, 64. Okay, so then from 11, open dot, age, close dot, 64. How do I read it? Well, all people who are greater than 11 years old, but less than or equal to 64 will pay $20. Okay. Oopsie, my bad. Then I'm going to erase this, and then we'll go to the last one. The last one will be a simple inequality because then since 64 here, so all the people who have ages who are greater than 64 will pay $15. Okay. Now, how do I convert this to a sheet or to a slide or to a doc? That's simple. Well, I can use here, so 3. Then I go to insert special characters. I go to symbol math. and I can write here less to research. When I search less, the first symbol will appear. I click on it, it will automatically go here. Then A for H, I can select the symbol. I Control C or Command C to copy the symbol onto my copyboard. And then I Control V to paste it. And I start using this symbol. When I don't want to use the symbol, remember the symbols that don't have the equal sign, they are on your keyboard over the comma or over the dot. So I can use them here. 64, and then A is greater than 64. So I can use this on my keyboard, okay? The ones that are less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, I have to use the insert characters, special characters, or symbol, depending on your Google Doc or your slides, okay? And then this is for you to write it. Now, what is your goal for today? Your goal is to use your requirements, your height requirements, which could be your heights or your ages, and create a two-step inequality from them, okay? But mister, how do I create a two-step inequality? Well, when you have the answer and you want to write the question, it is actually all the way around from what we answered. So let's think about what we used to do when we were answering a two-step inequality. Our last step was always dividing or multiplying, right? So now that should be our first step. So in my case, if I want to start doing some things, my first step will be, in my case here, I will multiply. And then I can select any number. I can select 2, 3, -2, -3, half, 0.5, 0.2, 10, 275. I have to multiply or divide by a number. That is the idea. Pay attention that I multiply and divide by the same number on both sides. What I do to one side, I do to the other. Okay? In this scenario here, I multiplied by -3 on both sides. Okay? Then, the second step is adding or subtracting anything that I want on both sides. I, Mr. Reno, decided to add 35 on both sides. When I added 35 on both sides, I got -3h plus 35 less than -100. And this is my two-step inequality that leads me to my answer. So just for you to understand, if I get if I get this question here and I solve it, I get your height requirement. This is the idea. You're actually doing the reverse process, okay, of what you have been doing so far. Okay, this is a really good strategy for you to remember how to solve a two-step inequality. What is a really good point here also is that remember, because I multiplied by a negative number here, I had to